Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another proRevenge Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and click on notifications so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, when a company plans a big restructuring that will cut pay and jobs, the employees fight back. Let's jump right in. Back in the early 2000s, I worked for a tech company who offered tech support, on-site support, and training to organizations who either didn't want specialized IT staff or could benefit from outsourcing. The company consisted of 3 directors, a sales department, finance, HR department, and tech department. Tech was further split with a senior manager, 4 team managers, and each team having 2 section managers. For call center support, where I worked, we had 2 team leaders, 2 senior engineers, 2 normal engineers, and 2 juniors. I was a standard engineer, earning £22,000 for a job that was worth at least $5,000 more outside of the low-priced area we all lived in. By 2006, I'm still stuck in this job on the same pay. Conditions are worse than before, with no overtime, no flexi time, no financial compensation for industry qualifications, shortened breaks, and no pay rise since I started. To make matters worse, they sold part of the land that the office was on to a developer, and on-site car parking was now for management only. We had to either pay to use the nearby council car park or risk parking on the street. Morale was low, but despite bad pay, it was still good for the area we lived in. One Friday in July, I think it was around the 21st, one of the senior engineers finds a document that he shares around the private chat app. It's a restructuring plan that the board voted in last week. Apparently, this had to be made available for the company for 3 months before any changes to terms and conditions could be made, so the board gave it a generic file name and tried to bury it in the large staff shared area of the network. One of the directors was selling his shares and moving on, having been headhunted by a large recruitment firm in a nearby city. The 2 remaining directors had managed to buy most of her shares with a small quantity going outside the company. This was the company response. Most of the document was a typical downsize restructure package with a twist. A few team mergers, staff reductions, and pay cuts spun as if to say they needed to maximize their profits to put the lost money back into the company. In October, a new contract would be released for all to sign, and was generic. In November, the restructure would be announced, and by January 1st, the new structure would be in place. The directors noted that the new contract needed to include clauses for non-competition and for soliciting customers, as these didn't exist except for the sales staff. It also mapped current positions to their new ones and what the new salary would be. I would be down by £5,000 a year, but the twist was that anyone with the word manager in their title would have their pay increased drastically. The team manager's pay jumped from $52,000 to $65,000, for example. By the end of the day, everyone under the rank of team leader had seen this document and was not happy. Over the weekend, I got a text message from one of the senior engineers inviting me to a barbecue at his house. When I got there, most of the tech staff was there, and during the afternoon we formulated a battle plan. Our revenge began on Monday, 24th of July, 8 a.m. 26 people in the tech team arrived for work as normal, each with a letter for the senior manager giving their 1-month notice, and all quoting the clause in their contract that states that members of the technical team with access to confidential company information must be off-site and on gardening leave the same day as they hand in their notice. No exceptions will be given. Gardening leave is a term used to say that we still work for the company, have handed in our notice to quit but can't remain on site or use company resources, so must wait out the remainder of the notice at home. We can't start a new job within that period. The net effect was that by 9:30 a.m., the director realized that his entire tech staff had quit and marched to the office floor and started harassing one of the seniors. The senior simply stood, took off his ID badge and swipe card, handed it to the director and told him, "I've already quit. This is me now sticking to my contract." On cue, most of the staff followed, with one member staying until lunchtime. From what I've been told, directors, senior managers, anyone they could get hold of were on the phones attempting to fix issues. The unsolved open queue went from around 35 to nearly 100 by lunchtime, and naturally the blame was left firmly at the door of those who quit. We were even bad-mouthed to customers. The day after our notice period expired, the senior engineer welcomed 25 new staff to his new company and had already taken 10 large contracts from the place we used to work for. We all had better pay, not much, but it was better than losing pay, and much better conditions, with an actual career track rather than the whim of the managers. The old company tried to keep afloat for a year, but they were losing money on every contract and couldn't afford to employ skilled or experienced people. They closed down in June of 2007, with the owners having to sell personal assets to pay debts, and the two remaining directors declaring personal bankruptcy too. I left the new company in 2010. As the market had changed and more companies were hiring staff than outsourcing, so contracts were harder to find, and I also had some minor medical issues that meant I needed to be near home. The new company is still going strong though, having moved towards more web design and development than anything else these days. In story number 2, our OP is fired from his job for asking for a day off to see a concert. Can that really be legal? Good afternoon, everybody that stumbled on this post. First, some backstory. During my gap year between studies, I decided to work for Company X. Company X was run by a husband and wife, Dave and Karen, with their son, and they basically treated their staff like a small family. All was well for about 2 months until I realized I had to ask for a day off since I wanted to attend the last Slayer concert the band would give in my country. There was about a month to go, so I sent an email asking for the day off and explaining why. This is where everything started to go downhill. I got a reply from Karen, and her reply was weird. She stated, "That's not how asking for a day off works." I was confused to say the least. Not sure what to do, I thought she wanted a more formal way of asking, so I wrote a formal email asking for the day off. She sent an email back saying I really had to think it through what I was doing, which made even less sense to me, but I was hopeful since I never really got a specific no. The next workday rolls around. I arrived, locked up my bike, and headed inside ready for work. I immediately started looking for Dave to ask for answers. Before I could even open my mouth, he asked me, "Do you still want to go to that concert?" I didn't expect him to ask this so quickly, but I answered yes. The only thing he said back was, "Okay, take off your vest and you can go home." I was stunned, and while the words started to sink in, I looked at my colleagues which were just preparing for opening. When it finally sank in, anger flowed in. I am not a confrontational person, so I simply took off my vest and gave it to Dave. Without a word, I left and started biking home. When I got back home, I told my mother what happened. We started sending emails for extra information and got very Karen-like emails back. After a couple emails, which basically went nowhere, I looked up the laws for immediate dismissal. I learned that in my country, somebody can only be immediately fired when caught stealing, committing fraud, the person isn't able to do the work or refusal to do the work. I did none of these. A day or two later, I met with an attorney and began the steps to sue Company X. I told my lawyer what happened in detail, and he was very confident I was in the right and Karen was in the wrong. So, after trading even more emails between the three of us, we went to small claims. I came prepared in a suit with my attorney in tow, and Karen showed up alone. I guess she assumed she would win because she believed she was in the right. The trial began and I was as professional and objective as I could be. Karen was also, well, for about half of the trial. When she realized that evidence was piling up against her, she resorted to insulting me, calling me a spoiled brat, among other things I don't know the English translation for. The point is that the judge ruled in my favor. As per usual, I had to wait a month before I got the written verdict in the mail, but I won. It may have taken about 6 months from the moment I was told to go home to the point those 6 months of pay were transferred to my bank account, but it was 100% worth it. In the end, I went to the concert. It was awesome. Actually, it was the most profitable concert I have ever been to in my life. This is John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.